Golden Glass. A Lego Monkey Kid fanfiction written by Jukebox Straws. Read by Jukebox Straws. Chapter 4. Dinner Plans. Kai had woken the next morning to the warmth of the sun shining through their window, and the warmth of another body curled up against them. Macaque's head was resting comfortably on Kai's chest as his thumb stroked over the soft skin of their stomach. Kai had never loved the morning after so much. "Good morning," they said softly, chuckling a bit. "Morning," Macaque slurred, lifting his head up and smiling. Last night was... He couldn't quite find the right word to describe it. "I thought it was wonderful." Kai blushed a bit, bringing their hand to Macaque's cheek. It indeed had been wonderful. Macaque was attentive, but not to the point of it being overbearing. He was gentle, but rough enough to make it fun. He whispered reassuring thoughts into his partner's ear to wash away the doubt. "I love you." He had spoken it for the first time that night. When he had gotten closer to his climax, though, he really let himself loose. Just the memory was enough to make Kai shiver with excitement all over again. "I thought it was great, too." Macaque smiled, bringing his thumb to ghost over his partner's sensitive chest. "Last night," Kai said, arching their back into the small touch, "you were unhinged, like some desperate howling creature." Macaque flushed, and his fur puffed a bit at the memory. Their ending had been quite frenzied, and the shadow demon could barely control himself. "You frightened me," they said. Macaque's blood ran cold. Had he truly been that crazy last night? Then Kai had gotten closer to him and brushed a kiss over his lips. "Do it again," they whispered with a mischievous smirk. Macaque grinned. "Gladly." "I ain't your babysitter anymore, Macaque." Pigsy nudged the girl back into Macaque's home. "Take your apprentice back now. You can't keep using your therapy appointments as an excuse." "Well, it was nice while it lasted," Macaque smiled, his usual snarky attitude coming back on full display as he leaned against the doorframe. "See you later, Piggy. Thanks for watching her," he said before shutting the door. Bai smiled and set her backpack down next to the Barbie dream house and other various toys colored a nauseating pink. Macaque had taken it upon himself to look after the former host of the Lady Bone Demon and train her as his own successor. Part of him wonders if he did that for himself or mainly just to upstage Wukong. But nevertheless, upstaging or not, he loved Bai as if she were his own flesh and blood. The kid had grown on him, and soon he didn't mind having the occasional tea party with her or pushing her around on her bike when the weather was particularly nice. He had especially grown interested in the everlasting drama between Barbie and Ken. "Did you have a fun time with MK, kiddo?" Macaque asked. Bai nodded. "Yeah, he taught me about fighting stuff." Bai performed some awkward kung fu moves on the soft mat on the floor of the dojo. Macaque chuckled. "That's good. Listen, I've got someone coming over today. I want you to be on your best behavior, okay, kid?" "Yes, Mr. Macaque." Bai looked curious. "Who's coming?" "A friend," was all he said. "Just be good, and I'll get you some of those cakes you like if you behave yourself." Bai lit up at that prospect, and immediately nodded as she took off her shoes and placed them beside the door. "Yes, Mr. Macaque." Kai had arrived shortly after, carrying a grocery bag and an overnight bag of toiletries, as they had an inkling they might end up staying the night with just how clingy they both tended to be. "What's the bag for?" Macaque raised an eyebrow at the groceries as he led him into his home. "Oh, I figured we could stay in for lunch and save money by not ordering out. I can cook," they said. Macaque blushed a bit. He offered to stay in and cook for him? Oh, that's a keeper. "Hi!" Bai quickly ran up to Kai, bowing respectfully. "I'm Bai. Mr. Macaque is my ba." "I didn't know you had a kid." Kai looked over at Macaque with a smile. The shadow demon sighed. "Well, after the Lady Bone Demon, I sorta took her in. She had nowhere else to go." He gave Bai a pat on the head. "That's very kind of you." Kai smiled, planting a kiss on their partner's cheek. Macaque nervously rubbed the back of his neck. The rest of the afternoon went on without a hitch. Bai asked Kai all sorts of questions while they cooked. Macaque and Kai made conversation. Kai enjoyed this, the talking and the cooking. They never got to do this. This was good. This was right. Yummy! Bai ate another dumpling. This is so good. Thank you, Kai. You're welcome, sweetie, Kai smiled. Macaque continued to stuff his face with dumplings. She really likes you, Macaque said as he walked Kai home. He had managed to finally put Bai to bed and left one of his shadow clones to watch over her, as he had offered to walk his partner home. He absolutely didn't just use that as an excuse to spend more time with the doctor. Not at all. I'm glad, Kai smiled. She's such a sweet girl. You're so good with her. Yeah, gotta stay on her good side so that she can tell me if Ken's gonna break up with Barbie or not. Kai laughed at the sarcastic remark. Macaque smirked and wrapped his arm around their waist. Well, Kai took out their keys as they stood in front of the door. I wouldn't want to keep you from your dream house gossip for too long, Mr. Macaque, they chuckled. I think I can spare a minute or two. Macaque, suddenly gaining back all the confidence he had lost during his confession, moved forward and kissed the doctor. Kai smiled into the gesture, wrapping their arms around his neck and leaning back against the still-closed apartment door, allowing Macaque's arms to cage them in. Kai pulled back and took several deep breaths. Suddenly, it was as if they had never kissed anyone in their life, like they were back in high school. The pleasant churning in their stomach and the slight lightheadedness made them smile. Good night, Macaque. I'll message you tomorrow, they said, opening the door to their apartment. Macaque stuffed his hands into his pockets and gave a wave. Night. To be continued in Chapter 5.